for reading through the Bible in a year in the 1 Year Bible, and today is the devotion for August 24th. We're looking at Job chapter 12 verse 1 through chapter 15 verse 35. So here we have Job's lengthy response to his friend Zophar, who basically said that Job deserved worse than what he was going through. So Job's speech is exceeded in length only by his final speech. And this speech also marks the transition between the first round of conversations and the second round, which will begin actually in this portion of Job that is selected for today, near the end. So earlier, Job was so worked up that he was almost nonsensical because he was so turbulent in what he was saying. But now he's more logical and organized, and at last we see a little bit of sarcasm. He says to his friends, "No doubt you are the people, and wisdom will die with you." Ouch. But to be fair, they had called Job a donkey. Now he says that he has at least as much understanding as they do. After all, his friend's wisdom has failed to explain the contradiction that Job is a just man, but a victim of ridicule, while there are thieves walking around in peace. Job makes it very clear that he knows that the hand of the Lord has done everything. It's significant that here, as he did in chapter 1, verse 21, Job uses Yahweh, the name for God that is translated as Lord, all capital letters, in the Old Testament. And Job surveys human history in reference to the hand of the Lord. Job clearly is a man who observes life and gives it a great deal of theological thought. His faith puts his mind hard to work. Job doesn't just think about God and doesn't just talk about God, he hopes in God. And even though he is hard on his friends, he displays a pastoral concern for them as well. For his part, Job is terrified at God's majesty, and it would be better for his friends if they were too, just a little bit. Still, Job hopes in God. He declares, "Though he slay me, I will hope in him. Yet I will argue my ways to his face. This will be my salvation, that the godless shall not come before him. Keep listening to my words, and let my declaration be in your ears," Job says to his friends, and really to us too. So little does Job deserve Eliphaz's criticism that he has despised the chastening of the Almighty, so little does he need the advice of both Bildad and Zophar to seek God. Job's faith and hope in the Lord is revealed, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, by his confession of his own sin. He freely admits to being sinful in his youth, and he names his sin 3 different kinds: error, failure, and rebellion. In this way, he lays himself wide open before God. Yet, in the final poem of Job's speech, he does revert to speaking with a rather dismal note. It's very realistic the way Job talks. Sometimes he feels one way, and sometimes what he's going through just gets the better of him for a moment, and that's the case here. And it gets pretty heavy. The sadness of death, as Job describes it, is its loneliness, and to mourn only for oneself for all eternity, if that is all that death brings, would be the ultimate horror. Now, chapter 15 begins the second round of speeches, and we see Job's friends become more severe as Job has now become more vehement in his words. Eliphaz accuses Job of folly and impiety. Job's irreverent words, according to Eliphaz, show how empty his claims to wisdom are. Apparently, Job needs a fresh reminder of the fate of the wicked. Eliphaz is only too happy to provide it at this juncture. Yet, Job has not made the claims that Eliphaz accuses him of. In the end, there's quite a fascinating literary touch here in the book of Job. You might remember that earlier Eliphaz had accused Job of being a windbag. Now Eliphaz ends his own speech with a bulbous pile of verbiage, with tedious repetition, with assertion and not rational argument. He presents the doctrine, you reap what you sow, in several different forms. In spite of all Eliphaz's words, he can't seem to admit to the fact that sometimes those who are bad are just filled with prosperity, while those who are good experience unrelieved misery. Much less can he even begin to reconcile this with God's justice. In the end, that really is something that is at the heart of the book of Job, and we will definitely learn more about how to do that by the time we reach the end. May God be with you and bless you, and I'll look forward to talking with you again